Hello, Yogiful family. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about holidays around the world. And specifically, we're going to be talking about invisible elves. So let's get started. Make sure you find a space that you can move around in. And it's simple. Just follow along and do what I do. Ready? So once upon a time, there were invisible elves that lived at the North Pole. Coming up to standing, opening our legs up wide, we're gonna do invisible elf pose. Bringing our hands to our ears, pointing our ears like elf ears. And these invisible elves had a very important job to do. These invisible elves would go around and help finish up any little tedious tasks that the elves and Santa didn't get around to. And these elves never needed recognition. They were invisible after all. And these elves loved to drink tea together. So coming down to sitting, opening up our legs wide. If you have snow around you, be sure to not get your socks wet. And these elves had a nice little tea party together. So taking our teapot in one hand, holding our teacup in the other, let's pour some tea for ourselves. Shh. Putting the teapot down, holding the cup with two hands, let's take a big inhale and smell our tea together. What does your tea smell like? What color is your tea? Let's take a little sip together. It just warms my belly right up. And these little invisible elves were all hanging out, and one elf in particular had something to talk about. Go ahead and put our teacup down. This elf, the elf that questions everything, said, "What about other holidays? Does everybody in the whole world celebrate Christmas?" And the other elves looked around, kind of waiting for somebody else to answer, but nobody had an answer. So they decided to go on an adventure together. Are you ready to go on an adventure with the invisible elves? Let's do this. So they hopped inside of a balloon, coming onto our knees, and they blew the balloon up so that they could travel all around and see how other people celebrate the holidays. So bring our hands out to our side. We're gonna inhale and blow up the balloon together. Ready? It wasn't quite filled up though. Let's do that one more time. And the balloon was completely filled up. And the invisible elves started on their grand adventure together. So coming up to standing, this will be our invisible elf flying pose. Bringing both of our feet to the ground, shifting the weight to one foot, driving our other foot back behind us just as high as we can go. Don't worry about getting it too high right now. If you need help with balance, you can hold somebody else's hand, or you can use the wall for extra balance. Whatever you feel most comfortable with. And the elves flew around. And let's switch our feet, shifting the weight to the other foot, lifting the other foot up. Again, holding the wall or a friend if we need it. And the elves flew around, and then they came to their first family. This family was celebrating Christmas. They were used to Christmas. They saw a beautiful Christmas tree. Let's go to Christmas tree pose. Bringing our foot either on our ankle, a little bit higher on our calf, or all the way up high above our knees. Whatever feels most comfortable for you. And they saw a beautiful Christmas tree with all types of decorations. Let's switch our legs. And the elves also saw lots of gifts under the tree. They know how those got there. Woo! And then they also smelled delicious treats. So bringing our legs out wide, back to invisible elf pose, bending forward and taking a big inhale. They loved the smell of Christmas treats. And they gave the family a big smile, although they couldn't see them because they're invisible, and they were on their way again, going back to invisible elf flying pose. Shifting the weight to one leg, lifting up our foot just as high as it'll go. and then switching feet. And the elves saw another family celebrating a different holiday. This holiday was Hanukkah, and they had a beautiful menorah set up. Let's go to Menorah Pose. Coming down onto our hands and our knees, we're gonna drop our belly down to the ground, whoop, and make a nice arch, kind of like a menorah. And the elves watched them lighting their candles, and they noticed there was 8 candles that they lit over the span of 8 days. So let's go to lighting the menorah pose. Bring our legs out wide, reaching forward this way in one direction first. And they lit 1 candle, and they lit 2 candles, and they lit 3 candles, and they lit 4 candles. Now we're in the center. And they lit 5 candles, and they lit 6 candles, and they lit 7 candles, and they lit 8 candles. And the whole family was gathered around playing with a dreidel. Let's go to Dreidel Pose. Sitting on our bottoms, bringing our knees together. We're gonna try to spin around like a dreidel. Whoa, my mat is pretty sticky. Maybe you can spin better than I can. Whoa, whoa. And all the family was together, and they were eating something delicious. Coming back up to standing, invisible elf pose, reaching forward, taking a big inhale. It was the smell of fresh latkes, and the whole family was happy, smiling, and gathered together. So the elves left with a big smile, ding, and they were on their way yet again. Coming back to flying elf pose, reaching one leg back, and they were off on their balloon adventure again. And switching legs. And then the elves came to another family, and they heard loud drums playing, bending our knees, hitting our thighs like drums. This family was celebrating Kwanzaa, and they had drums playing, and the house was decorated with fruits and vegetables, and everybody was having so much fun. They were dancing together. Let's have a quick, 5-second dance party together. Ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Whoa! And the elves gave the family a big smile, and they could tell that this holiday was all about unity. And the elves were off again. Going back to flying invisible elf pose, they were on their way. And switching legs. And they were getting a little tired at this point, but they decided to stop by one more family. And this family was celebrating the Lunar New Year's. And the first thing that the elves noticed was that everybody was wearing beautiful new clothes. So let's pat our toes, pat our legs, pat our bellies and our chest, and pat our arms, and pat our head. Everybody was wearing fresh new clothes, and they were eating a huge meal together. Coming down to sitting, opening our legs up wide, boop, boop, bending forward, and eating lots of delicious family foods. Maybe reach towards one toe, and then the other, and then out in front of you. Oh, it was such a sight to see. And they were giving each other these red envelopes full of money. Let's go to red envelope pose. Bringing our feet out in front, bringing our hands up high, and turning into a red envelope. And the elves saw them all passing out money to each other in red envelopes. It was so neat. And then they heard something loud. They had fireworks going outside of their house. Let's go to firework pose. Coming onto our knees in a nice little squat, we're gonna stand up and pop together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Pop! And back down. Let's do this 2 more times. Pop! Pop! And then the elves were off. They were very tired and ready for some rest. So coming back to invisible elf flying pose, they flew all the way back to the North Pole. And switching legs. Oh. And when the elves made it back, they gave a big stretch. Yeah. And they were ready to go to sleep. So they laid on their backs, ouch, and had their bellies up. They put their hands on their belly this time. And they took a big, deep breath. The elves were so happy. As they laid here in bed, they could smell all the delicious foods. And they noticed that everywhere they went, everybody had special, delicious treats to share with their family. They took a big inhale to try and smell some of their favorites. And then, as the elves lay in bed with their eyes closed, they remembered one other thing. This is something they noticed in all of the families, and that's that they were all together. Regardless of what holiday they celebrated, they spent time with each other over the holidays. And they were giving gratitude, and that seemed to be the most important thing. And the elves fell fast asleep and slept better than they had in a very long time. Let's take 3 deep breaths together. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more. And rolling over to one side. Using your arm to prop you up to a comfortable seated position. Sitting crisscross yoga sauce. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for stopping by. And remember, stay yogiful. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Bye-bye.
Hello kids, get your yoga on. Join with me, it'll be real fun.